Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the beautiful souls that were lost to police brutality in the last 10 years. Eric Garner, John Crawford III, Michael Brown, Azale Ford, Dante Parker, Michelle Crusoe, Laquan McDonald, George Mann, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Romaine Brisbane, Jeraine Reed, Matthew Ajabadi, Frank Smart, Natasha McKenna, Tony Robinson, Anthony Hill, Maya Hall, Philip White, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, William Chapman II, Alexia Christian, Brendan Glenn, Victor Manuel La Rosa, Jonathan Sanders, Freddie Blue, Joseph Mann, Salvador Ellswood, Sandra Bland, Albert Joseph Davis, Darius Stewart, Billy Ray Davis, Samuel DeBose, Michael Sabi, Brian Keith Day, Christian Taylor, Troy Robinson, Ashams Farrell Manley, Felix Kumi, Keith Harrison McLeod, Junior Prosper, Lamontez Jones, Patterson Brown, Dominic Hutchinson, Anthony Ashford, Alonzo Smith, Tyree Crawford, India Kager, Levante Biggs, Michael Lee Marshall, Jamar Clark, Richard Perkins, Nathaniel Harris Pickett, Benny Lee Tigner, Miguel Espinal, Michael Noel, Kevin Matthews, Betty Jones, Antonio Legrier, Keith Kildress Jr., Janet Wilson, Randy Nelson, Artroni Scott, Wendo Celestin, David Joseph, Colin Rockamore, Deshaun Perkins, Christopher Davis, Marco Loud, Peter Gaines, Tori Robertson, Darius Robinson, Kevin Hicks, Mary Trujillo, DeMarcus Seaburn, Willie Tillman, Terrell Thomas, Seville Smith, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Terrence Crutcher, Paul O'Neill, Alteria Woods, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Rennell Foster, Stephen Clark, Antoine Rose II, Botham Jean, Pamela Turner, Dominic Clayton, Atatiana Jefferson, Christopher Whitfield, Christopher McCorvey, Eric Reason, Michael Lorenzo Dean, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. Regardless of your stance on police and or race, can we at least acknowledge that the similarity these people all had were that they were Americans? So join me in a 10-second moment of silence to remember all these souls. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Everyday Guy podcast. I am your host, Rudy Marquez, and we have episode 2-3 here for you right now. Today's episode is about my coverage of the protests that took place in my hometown, my city, the place where I live, Whittier, Southern California, right here in the good old US of A. Never have I ever been involved in a riot or protest or any type of large group gathering focused toward some social issue. To be honest, I fucking get scared like seeing social gatherings, man. Even like when me and my daughter would go to Disneyland, my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law used to buy us Disney passes every year. This was before they came up with that bullshit ass like $1,300 plan they have now. And we what the fuck was I talking about? Oh, we would go to Disneyland, right? And dude, like, I'd always be leery and looking at people and like thinking of my way. If a shooter came in from here, I'm ducking here. I'm grabbing the girls. Like, what am I gonna do? There was the Disney Junior show. I don't know if they still have it. I haven't been in years, but my daughter loved it. It was really badass. But they used to have the Disney Junior show in California Adventure, and it would be like this big auditorium room with the stage, and then they'd have like bubbles come down and shit, and then little gold clippings from one of their shows, and it was badass. Like, it was very interactive. However, it's just a big room where everybody's just kind of on their knees and sitting, with their legs crossed and shit. And dude, I'd always be like, man, this is fucking sketchy, dude. There's like one entrance. That's it. It always just made me nervous. And then at that time when we were going, this was like, fuck, dude, probably like 6 or 7 years ago. The security they had there was fucking loose, dog. One of my homies, Lalo, he'll know what I'm talking about, because back then, dude, you could roll up in there, and if you had a strap on you, ain't nobody gonna find out. It was sketchy, dude. I always thought about that. Fucking Disneyland, dude. And then they beefed up their security and shit, and had like metal detectors for people coming in and shit, so they got a little better with it. But I used to always have my blade on me, like always had a knife on me. No problem, I'd bring it in there. I'm not gonna do any damage to anybody, but it scares me what somebody else could bring in there. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, like being around large groups and shit, it's just not for me, dude. Unless like house parties back then. And I'll be honest, dude, this whole protest at Whittier in Uptown felt like a straight up Whittier house party, dude. Like, people were just bumping music, people were smoking weed, people were drunk, like talking shit to cops, and then the cops weren't doing shit, dude. Like, people were literally drinking in front of them, smoking bud in front of them, talking shit to them, dude. I'll go into it in a little bit, but it was weird, dude. But for me, this was March 31st, so this was that Sunday. They had a protest up in Uptown Whittier at the Whittier police station, and for one thing, I woke up from text from like a fellow podcaster asking if I'll be at the protest. I had no clue what he was talking about, and then I checked, and bam, Black Lives Matter will be at Whittier police station in my favorite town, my hometown. I'll die there. I always have this thing: when I die, I want to be spread all over Whittier, dude. All over Whittier. But I don't want to be cremated, dude. I just want to be like cut up and then like spread all over Whittier. And then whoever can like find me and put me back together, you can find my treasure. What? I'll hide a treasure, dude. That'll be sick. God damn, dude. But I like to bring light to just such an atrocious and heinous act by a police officer. At that, for me, what I think, if it means anything to anyone, everybody has their opinions, and but I think there's got to be changes made to how these police officers respond to just people of color, people not of color. They have to. Police officers have to adapt, and the only way I think they can do so is by police oversight, and oversight from the community would be something that I would want to explore, meaning having community members that actually hear these cases of what happens in the streets by the police and they get to decide on, the fate of that officer depending on the act that took hand. Now I could just be talking shit and like putting our putting it in our hands, and then we're gonna fuck up and drop the ball. But dude, we vote. We fuck up and drop the ball when we vote these shithead politicians that don't do anything. You know, and I can't stand that politicians can get rich from being a politician. That's not what our forefathers began this country thinking. Let's get rich. Fuck all that, dude. They wanted to build something for their family, for their forefathers, for their kids. They wanted to build a freedom. Sure, if it gave them opportunities, that's great, and people do strive. I'm not saying it's horrible to be rich, but there's definitely a divide at this moment between the rich and the poor. The middle class is disappearing, or it's becoming just isolated, and it's gonna be its own island. So you'll have it's just gonna be weird, dude. And but for me, I just think that cops, you guys got skin in the game, and they need to understand the severity of this one cop's or these 4 cops' mistakes. I've seen multiple videos of officers kneeling down with protesters, or just police officers acknowledging that cop messed up. And that's what we really need to see in society. To be honest, when I was in the Whittier Uptown protest, it wasn't like that, dude. The cops were not happy that the protesters were there. And the protesters were not happy, that the police were there. It was wicked, dude. But, protesters were really talking shit to the officers. And I'll get into details of exactly what I heard. But when I saw those videos of cops making outreaches, like, that's a good-hearted person. That's a person that sees a mistake and is able to call it out. If you see bullshit, dude, you gotta call that shit out. Even if it's within your own squad, dude. Look, I got a brotherhood of friends, right? I got a brotherhood. I'll protect them till the day I die. There's nothing wrong they can do in my eyes. However, it is my job as a brother to let them know when they're wrong. And as a brother, I am. If Big JB fucks up and he does something that, what, man, I don't think that was the right idea, I'm gonna let him know. He's either gonna take it as a dig and just be pissed off about it, or he's gonna try to understand what I'm trying to tell him. Because I got nothing but love for him. I ain't trying to hurt him. He doesn't have to do all that preparation that you do from an outsider. Like, what advice really is this person giving me? He knows I'm a brother, so I'm going to give him the best advice I can to help him, right? Do cops do that? I'm really not too sure. I don't know. From an outsider's perspective, I want to say I hope so. Do I see it? No. Would I be able to see it, though? It's a brotherhood that I'm not in, so I wouldn't see that. However, from the looks of it, from the way the internal affairs were to handle a situation, I believe it comes that they protect the police officer first before they find justice. And that could just be an ignorant understanding of it. I could be wrong. I should probably do a little more research, but fuck, dude, that's what I'm thinking. And I can't say the blame should fall solely on in the protests. I can't say the police should be the only ones not wanting to participate, but some reaction to some of these protesters was intense, dude. So I want to go over things that I heard at the protest, and I did not make a mistake on my words. I typed like 75 words per minute, and I voice recorded everything, so I went back and forth with it. These are all different things that I heard during Sunday's protest. The cops don't give a fuck. Someone yelled out, "Pigs!" while another one yelled out, "What? Pig? What?" White silence is violence. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. The DA, prosecution. Why are you smiling? One guy said. How about 40% of the police that are all corrupt? One man said. Fuck you, Sanchez, another man said. Getting $150,000 a year, one bad cop kills it for everyone. You're all backing up the bad cops, one person said. Unfortunately, I don't think you guys give a shit. They protect themselves and not us. They're gonna get brand new shit because you're getting paid fat right now. Fuck P, fuck 12, is something another person said. Are you ready for fucking war? I'm so fucking irritated by this bullshit and this corruption that keeps occurring. Sounds of cars driving by with the music bumping Fuck the Police by NWA. And two protesters that I've noticed as I'm hearing all these things, I mean, like, it was constant. These are things that I was able to pick up on that were repetitive, that I noticed was fuck you Sanchez, Black Lives Matter, the DA, the prosecution, or the prosecutor needs to be fired, fuck you Sanchez, somebody within the police force named Sanchez. Cops are getting $150,000 a year. I don't know if that's a credible number. I work for the public sector, and to be honest, that sounds a little extreme for, a Whittier PD officer. Maybe they might max out at 150. I don't know what their salary schedules are. You can go online. You can find their salary schedules. I should just pull them up, but I'm not. Two protesters that were there, man, they were giving it to the fucking police, dude. They were calling them pussy ass bitches. Radio. My dad was beaten to death, you son of a bitch. When your son is dead and your fucking life is going downhill, what are you gonna do? This is again what protesters were yelling at the police. Do your fucking job. What if it was your fucking dad? This white bitch don't have no culture. Now, I'm an understanding man. I try to understand to the best of my abilities why people act a certain way, why they feel that their words should be heard. But I understand a protest and your point to really I would say to get the focus of a protest is to get the what am I trying to say? The authority, the government, the people around them to change their ways, to create some type of reform, some type of justice for the injustice that just played out in front of us. Now, calling a cop a fucking pig, telling him, what if your son died? I understand these people's pain. I fucking do, man. Some people are extremely hurt right now. Some people are just kind of all fucked up right now, coming out of what COVID put us through, which is still putting us through. It feels like the world's opening up, but I don't know, man. The world feels weird right now. Real weird. Maybe it's just me, but for me, we all have to look at the entire picture, okay? The thing I think of is synchronicity, meaning everything happening all at once, and they happen for a reason. So COVID, the Breonna Taylor, the George Floyd, the black man who was berated by that lady with the dog, and who she got fired and she lost her dog and shit, and she was claiming that her life was being threatened by a black man, which was not the case at all. He was filming everything and she was just going off. And so you have those three boiling points kind of happening all around at the same time. There was also Ahmaud Arbery, who was gunned down by two white men. One of them was an ex Whittier, not a Whittier detective, an ex police detective, I believe. And it took months for them to even prosecute those two men. Actually, until the video went public, that's when they decided to pursue charges on those two men. So all of this happening along with something that's never happened in history in the last fucking 100 years. We go on lockdown as a country. We go on lockdown. That means nobody's working, nobody's in school right now. Okay, we didn't have restaurants open. We did not have we didn't have anything open for a while, other than Walmarts and Targets and grocery stores, maybe Dollar Trees. No bullshit, dude. 7-Elevens and all the little quick marks, dude. But we went a minute, dude. We went a couple months with just bullshit being open, and what, we got like 25 fucking million on unemployment right now. So other than what's happening, this social injustice, these horrible acts by these police officers and these people, you got people that are on lockdown that have no fucking money. We're on a 3 to 4 week turnaround on unemployment to be approved and paid. 3 to 4 weeks. So that means by the time you file, you got that 2-week turnaround. So that's 6 weeks before you even get a check. So that means the first is going to come, you ain't going to have the rent. Then you're going to come again to the next first. As soon as you get paid, you're going to get paid for 2 weeks. And that 2 weeks is not going to cover that rent. Now you're back 2 months on rent. And this is what, March? No, not even March, like April. And now we're in June? I mean, I hope that $600 extra a week helps people. I really do. But the synchronicity of everyone being on lockdown, these heinous acts, and just literally free time. People are using their free time, their time that they would be working or doing something else, they're putting it into a social issue. Some people are doing it for the right reasons. Then you got the fuck ups. You got the dudes out there, you know. I remember April 26, 1992. There was a riot on the streets. Tell me, where were you? Bradley, you know. He knocked down a pawn shop. And he's got that guitar that you're listening to when you listen to him and shit. And, you know, some people take it as an opportunity to get what they don't have. Take what somebody else has. That is rewarding in itself to some people. You know, that's harsh reality, dude. Some people like that shit. Some people want to steal. Some people just want to see the world burn. Some people are just fucking angry. You know, Killer Mike went on I think like Atlanta News with T.I. to speak about it. He gave a great, powerful speech. I didn't know his family was so invested in the police community in Atlanta, and for generations actually. And he has a high respect for authority, but for a rapper to be able to express himself clearly and freely like that, and show his pain, man, that dude touched my heart with that speech. We can't burn down our own house, you know? What are you doing out there? Robbing that Target, dude. You know? That homeboy, I saw a dude cranking on a fucking ATM, dude, at some bank, like a drive-through ATM, just cranking on it, trying to bust that cap open, dude. Like, hustling, dude. I don't know what's going through that dude's head. Maybe people are liquored up, dog. You know? Maybe people are all fucked up right now. I don't know. But times are extremely tough for a lot of people, dude. So, you know, when I got to see, or when I first heard that Whittier was having a protest, I had to get down there, dude. I had to get down there. And I got down there kind of late, like everybody was, I think, kind of died down. But I got to see the kind of riffraff that stayed around after. And some of them were there for a good reason. Some of them were just there, I think, to vocally express their anger. I don't know if they're angry at authority. Because of the things they were saying, it just sounded that they were angry with anyone that would be in authority. I like I'm not trying to downplay the protesters and say they were assholes or anything. They were civilized, and when the police officer, like captain, came out and said, we're gonna conclude the event, he called it. A lot of protesters were fucking pissed that he called it that. Excuse me. And so he goes on to, tell him, like, that's it, there's a curfew, we can give tickets if you guys want, we're going inside, you guys need to leave. And they dispersed. They didn't throw a fit, they didn't start throwing shit at the cops, they didn't start acting inappropriately. Like, you had some dudes yelling out, but people were yelling out the whole time. People were voicing their frustration. I'm not one to judge, and I can't say what they're mad about. But a lot of people are putting that free time, and I use that for lack of a better term, but the stale time that we have, people need to do something, and they feel that maybe this is their purpose. But I really hope it does shine light to police injustice, dude, and police brutality, because something's got to change. I think we got to reevaluate the types of officers we put in certain communities. As harsh as that might sound, it's pretty simple. If you're putting somebody in a community that they don't really understand or respect, they probably shouldn't be in that community. And now, if you have so many officers that have issues with being in certain communities because they don't know how to relate, then that's a bigger issue. You got to start getting rid of those cops. You got to start changing the dynamic, the mentality, the mantra of these police officers. I don't know, man. I don't have all the right answers, but I hope somebody figures this out, and I'm gonna try to keep up with it as best as possible. There was another protest today on June 4th. It was on the corner of Santa Gertrudis and Whittier Boulevard, located in a kind of predominantly white Hispanic area. It's definitely like an upper class in East Whittier. I would say the people in East Whittier don't have the same problems as the people in South Whittier. That's how I describe it. And there was no sign of officers. It began at 1 p.m. and it seemed to have like maybe 3 people rotating throughout the crowd, kind of instructing them what they're going to be doing. They marched from Santa Gertrudis down to past Scott, then back. It's about they marched probably like a half mile. I spoke with one protester, and she said Trader Joe's actually provided them with cases of water, and which was something really cool. I saw a few shops boarded up. The Dollar Yes was boarded up, and but other stores, everything was moving. They didn't block the streets. They walked on the sidewalk. They paid attention to the lights. They weren't getting in traffic. And then there were a few cops driving around, but I would say that the protest today's spirit was nothing like the protests on Sunday night. I think this was a lot of kids, a lot of family, and to be honest, it was a lot of white folk that were voicing their opinion. And for me, racism is not just white people being dickheads. Racism could be anybody being dickheads. And I've seen it in all different forms, dude. I've seen it from my own people, to me. Racism could it just grows, dude. And for me to see like a bunch of white folk out there, I love it, dude. Do your thing, white folk. Hispanic dudes, everybody was out there. But most of the protesters, they were Hispanic and Caucasian. They were, at least from like a physical perspective. And that was like at 2 o'clock, and I followed them, and then it kind of dispersed. Like at 3:10, there was a young Hispanic woman that kind of gave out notes on what she thought, and she had betcha that the work is not done, that charges do not mean convictions. So she kind of led the group, about a group of, I would say at the most 100 at one point. But it was interesting seeing the different types of people, especially in that community of East Whittier. I will say that Whittier is the best goddamn city ever. No bullshit, dude. Whittier's fucking sick, dog. Whittier's like a hidden gem to me, dude. You got a clash of East LA meeting down from Montebello to Pico, and then you got like a Orange County vibe from Brea coming down to La Habra and shit, La Mirada, and you got like it's just a trip, dude. And Whittier is just a clash of everything. You got punks, you got gangsters, you got white boys, you got just a different mix of people, dude. But I'll be honest, like in Whittier, I don't think there's a large black community, and I could be wrong. But I know growing up, we didn't have a lot of black kids in our schools. But it wasn't like we weren't trying to exclude anyone anyways. It was predominantly Hispanic, man. And I didn't see much racism, other than a few things that I'll probably go over in future episodes. But other than that, it just seemed like everybody was just misguided and angry at some point in their life, and we all bonded over that. So fuck it, that's what we did. But that's it. I just wanted to quickly cover the Whittier protest. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening in. I love the support. Yeah, check me out again, you guys. Peace.